Private investigators Larry and Aisha get hired by a woman to look into the disappearance of her son Kyle, who is in college. They break into his pad and find TVs playing white noise, VHS tapes, a laptop, and a drop of blood that looks rather fresh. Larry decides to keep looking around the house while Aisha looks to see what's on the laptop. And of course, they're not alone. Aisha notices that the laptop is recording and watches a video of Kyle talking about a tape he got from some guy who collects snuff and CP. She then watches one of the tapes as a figure shows up behind her. Herman Middleton gets a bionic eye after losing his first one in a car accident. Herman, no, please! The doctor tells him that he may experience glitching in the eye because it's just being tested, which he is unfazed by. He also learns that he won't have privacy to Jack unless he does it with one eye. He goes back to his massive house to game and starts noticing spooky shit. The Noticer. Extremely aesthetic high-perched eyebrow. I'm noticing. This includes an outline of a figure in his bed. And these ghosts. Why does it look like an accountant? He calls to tell his doctor about it, who's like, it's just a burst of light, chill, you're a pussy and a nerd. This woman named Clarissa, who was intensely staring at Herman as he left the hospital the day before, then shows up at his door and says that she's in a similar situation as him. When she was younger, she was deaf and got a cochlear implant that allowed her to hear the frequencies of ghosts, so she can hear the ones that are in his house. She understands him like no one ever could. She also mentions that the more you interact with the ghosts, the more they can touch and hurt you. Imagine a ghost comes up and bites your lip. Also, the ghosts will still be there even if Herman Middleton takes out his bionic eye. He just won't be able to see them. So he probably shouldn't take it out. Suddenly, this man just appears. Unfortunately, most of the scares in this tape are like this. And Clarissa's like, don't worry, he's my uncle. The fuck? Then she's like, listen, I know how to make him go away. And they just have sex in front of the cuck uncle. This is sick, but I understand. Things then proceed to get a little bonkers. The ghosts come back and Clarissa is drowned by an unseen entity. Herman met a girl who matched his freak and proceeded to just let her die. I think I just threw up in my mouth. And at this point, Herman Middleton can't take it anymore and removes the fake eye with a razor. But like Clarissa said, this doesn't get rid of the ghosts, so the accountant just takes the razor and destroys him, ending the tape. Oh, I forgot to mention that because his eye served as the camera in this, we saw all of his blinks. Back in the real world, Aisha calls Larry into the room and plays Kyle's video, where he talks about how the tapes will affect you if you watch them in a certain sequence. Larry then tells Aisha to keep watching the tapes to see if she finds anything. What is she gonna find on the tapes, Larry? Why don't you just finish watching the video he recorded instead of turning the volume down as he's talking about the tapes? Seems like he might have provided some context. What are we doing here? This is Mike. He just wants to ride his bike and fuck, like George Clooney. Suddenly, a woman runs out from the wilderness, begging him to help her boyfriend before projectile vomiting. Personally, I would ignore it. Mike then sees people coming towards him, and as they get closer, it becomes clear that they are zombies. But I don't think Mike realizes this because he still tries to help the woman and gets bitten because she is, of course, a zombie. And now so is Mike. And the GoPro on his helmet is the main camera in this tape, so it's a zombie POV. Which is interesting for like a minute, but then I realized that I kind of only care about zombies when I'm viewing them from the perspective of normal people running from them, because I can put myself in their position. I don't really care about how zombies live. He ends up biting a few people, and they crash this little kid's birthday. Some people get bit, but outside of Mike, all the zombies are pretty slow, so you can briskly walk and get away pretty easily. Check this out though. This guy comes with a shotgun and he's kind of going crazy, but for some reason does not see this zombie in his peripheral. No! Mike then butt dials his girlfriend, and I guess hearing her voice causes him to regain some of his humanity, because he then takes the shotgun and blows his head off. It's incredibly sad.
Wouldn't let that shit happen to me though.
Aisha's nose is now bleeding and she's quite distraught, as her body cannot take the atrocities that she's witnessing. Wah! This definitely isn't what Kyle was talking about in the video.
I know a lot of you have posted that it only affects you if you play it in a correct sequence.
It's what Kyle was talking about in the video. Larry then goes to get medicine for her, leaving her alone in the house. Did we just forget about the blood, or the fact that you broke into this weird guy's house? What about all these journals talking about bullshit? And if this is wide ruled paper, then Kyle is really a psycho. Anyways, Aisha decides to put in another tape, either because she's in a trance or she's just like, fuck it. And of course, this fucker crawls out of the shadows to watch her. This is one of the best horror shorts I've ever seen. A film crew finesses their way into the compound of an Indonesian cult called Paradise Gates to film a documentary about their sketchy activities using both hidden and displayed cameras. There's Malik, his fiance and producer Lena, his best friend and cameraman Adam, and Joni, another cameraman. The leader of this cult is this guy, who goes by Father. And when talking about the ideologies of Paradise Gates, he says that this world is temporary, and that there's another plane of existence, and that he and his followers are close to reaching the gates of paradise. Okay, pretty standard stuff. But it's weird that he goes by Father and refers to his followers as disciples, and is also drinking this massive glass of milk. I will also add that he is touching it in a crazy way. And my sources tell me that he moans when he gets haircuts. At the compound, we see different feeds from the security cameras, and it's pretty weird. Father is about to just cut his stomach. He did not need to bite his shirt like that. They're greeted by this woman named Madam, and a little girl who immediately puts a creepy necklace on Lena, so she might be their version of the May Queen. Either she's about to be up like crazy, or die dramatically. They go to interview Father, and as they go deeper into the compound, we see progressively creepier shit, like this, and this. During the interview, Lena gets sick and has to leave. She wanders into this classroom with a bunch of kids, and Madam comes in like, beautiful, aren't they? But not as beautiful as yours will be.
Ini akan membuahkan suatu yang sangat istimewa.
Like she's coming on so strong. Also crazy for Lena to not want to leave here. She just straight up got told that she's gonna give birth. We cut back to Malik interviewing Father, who is talking about how he washes away impurities in children. Yep. Malik then has to go get a spare camera battery from the car, during which he overhears his fiance Lena and best friend Adam talking about how they've been cheating. And we learn that Lena is pregnant, and somehow Malik doesn't crash out. Personally, I would have been like... We then hear a bell chime, and Father starts talking about how it's time for the compound to reach salvation. Meanwhile, Adam goes to the basement and finds a woman who appears to be dead, but is not. And it turns out that she is strapped to a table with her womb carved out. Guys, you're gonna want to see this. Father takes his shirt off and kills Joni after interrupting his monologue twice. He then gets back on the mic and tells the compound to give their bodies to him. Shortly after, Lena is abducted by a woman wearing masks, and the compound begins a mass unaliving with poison and guns. The children in the classroom are dead. There's these guys. Malik gets shot. It's crazy. The way the tension escalates in this is pretty great, and it just gets more insane. Like, look at this. Adam goes to save Lena with absolutely no sense of urgency, and the room that she was taken to explodes. What was that? Oh, you know, just a person crawling on the ceiling like a little spider. Fuck! And out comes Father, who I thought would maybe have superpowers or something, but nah, he just explodes. Adam goes in the room and finds Lena being held down and recorded. He eliminates them and tries to escape with Lena, but she's like, "Get it out of me." Adam lifts her shirt as we see the cult symbols carved into her stomach, and that shit is moving. Then a bloody demon comes out of her body. This shit is comically sick. And Adam runs back up through the compound. I like how the story is set up so that the deeper they went into the compound, the more disturbing things got. So when Adam goes back up, you're seeing their atrocities in reverse order. The kids who are now like zombies, blood-soaked sex, and then men who are now zombies. And you can kind of feel him making progress in his escape because the things he's seeing are getting a little less disturbing. But you see, the thing is, the demon has been chasing him this whole time. He tries to drive away, the demon rams that shit, and then says this.
In the spot, I came with the fellas. Ray Mac got hit in the back of his melon. And then fought through a bullet.
So this man lost his best friend, his work wife, and is now the father of a demon. What are you supposed to do with this thing? He can't even be a deadbeat. And he's never gonna respect you. Like, you're gonna tell him to do something and he's gonna beat the shit out of you. Larry comes back with medicine, but Aisha has offed herself. And he's like, whoa, chill. He then sees a tape beside her that has "watch" written on it in lipstick. And Larry is like, fuck me, I guess I gotta watch it. They really did not care about this frame story. There is no reason for him to play this tape. A couple leaves their 3 kids to go on a romantic getaway. The 2 brothers, Gary and Randy, and their older sister, Jen. They all invite their friends over, and the younger kids mess around with the older kids by ambushing Jen and her friends with squirt guns filled with piss. During this, they fail to see the alien that is in the water. Fuck! Later that night, they interrupt Jen and her boyfriend Zach, and there's this crazy distortion in the audio and video, but the group seems unaffected. That's what you decided to go with? Jen and Zach get revenge by strapping a camera to the family dog, Tank, to catch one of the boys jacking.
Give me the camera. Yeah, right. I'm putting this all over the internet.
That is aggressively illegal. Suddenly, another little earthquake happens, and we see that the aliens are at the door. I always think it's funny when a movie character locks the door after the threat has made itself very obvious. Like, at this point, you're fucked, big bro. After one of the aliens grabs Zach, they snatch the kids, put them in sleeping bags, and try to drown them in the lake. Jesus. Some of them escape, and the aliens chase them. The way this is filmed is so chaotic. Like, I get they're trying to be realistic, but it's almost too found footage for me. Like, the camera is just attached to the dog. I almost started twitching. The group runs towards what they think are the police, but it ends up just being a trap set up by the aliens. They're kind of crazy. One by one, they abduct the remaining kids, and the tape ends with Gary dropping the dog while being sucked up into a ship, the dog looking into the camera, and dying. Why would you do that? After watching the tape, Larry finally decides to play the rest of Kyle's video, where he explains that he and his mom, the person who hired Larry, want to make their own tape, before shooting himself in the face and hiding as Larry and Aisha walk in the house, which explains the sound that they heard and ignored earlier. Imagine if they would have just watched this as soon as they found it. But I do wonder, if the laptop has been recording this whole time, how are they able to simultaneously watch the playback of that recording? Like, I would think you couldn't see that until you stopped recording. Aisha suddenly wakes up and attacks Larry and starts running around on all fours. Larry hides in the closet and shoots her when she finds him. But guess what? Larry is not alone in the closet because Kyle has been there the entire time, and he chokes Larry to death. How has Kyle just been chilling there this whole time? How is he even conscious? His tongue is just dangling from his face, and he just looks at the camera and puts his thumb up like, huh?
How about 8 inches and thick?